So, good evening, good morning again. And this is the much awaited award session. And I must say that it's time for all of you to get inspired by the stories of the legends in ophthalmology, right? So, let's begin the session, and I request the following people to come on the stage. I request Dr. Ritika Sachdev and Dr. Rashman Gandhi, sir, to please chair the session. And I request Dr. Mahipal Sachdev, sir, Dr. Lalit Verma, sir, to please come on stage, along with Dr. Virendra Sangwan, sir, Dr. Jeevan Titiyal, sir, and Dr. R.V. Ramani, sir, and of course, Dr. Santosh Unnave, sir.
A very good morning to our dear students and to the inspirations on this dais. Uh, First of all, we'd like to thank our role models, Dr. Ramani sir and Dr. Sangwan sir, for joining us today. The backbone of iFocus, our chairman, Dr. Mahipal Sachdev, the heart and soul of iFocus, Dr. Santosh sir, and the mastermind of iFocus, Dr. Rashman, and saving the best for the last, I think, our AIOS president, who has done a tremendous job leading the society, but to us, he's our dearest, Dr. Lalit Verma, sir. So thank you for joining us today. We'd start the inspirational award ceremony by introducing you to the lives and the trials and successes of 3 role models in ophthalmology. But before that, our own role model, our hero, Dr. Mahipal, will talk to you about the journey of Center for Sight, which has been a proud partner to iFocus year on year. So inviting Professor Dr. Mahipal Sachdev for the first talk.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to iFocus. I think it's always a privilege to see so many residents, ophthalmologists, to be the future of ophthalmology in India, to take part in this fantastic event that Santosh organizes, the iFocus. Can I have my slides, please? Well, I'll just briefly give you what Center for Sight, how it started, what Center for Sight is, and what we are today, and what we offer for all of you and to the public at large. What I'll wish to say is what you people are doing just now is to make your foundation solid, and that is to be educated, to have the skills, to hone your skills, and to learn what is the very best in ophthalmology. Similarly, what I would say is that a man or a woman without education is a building without foundation, and I think this starts at home, as also it starts right from your school. And I do cherish our moments in modern school, which kind of made what we are, looked at us to develop a wholesome personality as things are. 1976, I would say, where it all started. That is when got admission into All India Institute of Medical Sciences as a MBBS student. And from there on, the journey, I would say, went on. Ophthalmology was my calling, and RP Center, I would say, my shrine. That's when entered 1982, and like you gave your choices, our choices at the admission were, I gave ophthalmology and ENT, wanted to be a surgeon always, and looked at a super specialized or a specialized surgical branch. And this is what RP Center was at that time. I think it has gone some transformations, though is pretty much similar to what it is. But it is here in RP Center that we saw what ophthalmology was and what super specialization in ophthalmology was. It is, I think, here Professor Dr. L.P. Agarwal started the super specialization culture or the super specialization in ophthalmology in India, and we had 12 subspecialties at that particular time in ophthalmology, and each was headed by a master in himself or herself. And I think one of the greatest education was to work with them and to watch the masters at work. So friends, never ever just be very impatient to be or lay your hands on cutting a patient. Even watching somebody do surgeries is very, very important. The deft movements of the hand as to how a person handles a particular situation, how he or she extricates oneself out of the complications is something which is very important. But then there is something which is called as a tipping point, and the tipping point is that magic moment when an idea or a trend or a social behavior crosses a threshold, tips and spreads like wildfire. So it was right here in my mind when I went to Georgetown University 89-90 that I think I had the opportunity to work with Professor Dwight Kavanagh. He was the youngest professor ever to become at the age of 35 and head Emory Eye Institute at that particular time, and then came to Georgetown University. And mind you, the impact that possibly he had on my life was great, because that was one person who was aiming for the Nobel Prize, though he didn't get, but that was the time what one can see that was the big difference in the thought process that people had in US as compared to what they had in India. So I think this was somebody who made me realize that there is a big potential that one has, and having a secured job in All India Institute of Medical Sciences, I would say, was not my calling. Maybe my contemporaries just finished or retired as chief of RP Center, Dr. Atul, and we were together, all of us became faculty at that particular time. But what I will say is that we had the opportunity to be exposed to research. This is the first prototype of the confocal microscope that was being developed, and we were working on the confocal microscope. Professor Tatyal, welcome, please join us. And Professor Tatyal again from RP Center. So this is when we decided that, I decided that there is something, that there is a need for a super specialty eye care facility in ophthalmology in North India. The best super specialties centers at that time was RP Center, I would say. PGI was coming up as a specialty. Guru Nanak Eye Center was there. But if you would look in the private setup, there wasn't any corporate player in North India having a super specialty niche. So the foresight was to build an institution for the future and move beyond cataract clinics to provide world-class comprehensive eye care. And along with that, I would say clinical excellence being the cornerstone of Center for Sight was to also have the know-how of the business of ophthalmology. The clear ideology was to create an institution above self, and that is why there is no personal name that is associated with Center for Sight, because that, I feel, according to me, is a rate limiting step. If you say it's Maipal Eye Clinic or you say Sachdev Eye Center, there will be people who will be more hesitant to join it. So that was the clear ideology that we had. But excellence, having the best of manpower, the best of talent, was something which was very, very important. And one thing that Center for Sight has always looked on is to be the first movers in technology in India. So that is something that has been, apart from the skilled human resource that we had, I think having the technology which works was something which is important. So the vision at that time was to have the platform for excellence, an opportunity to lead with cutting edge technology with a super specialized team. The reputation and strength to create this institution was there. And we set out to create this platform to make a difference. And the purpose that I had was to create this, and without a purpose, as they say, which is bigger than yourself, you will never succeed. So your purpose has to be much bigger, And then there is the opportunity that is available for all of us. So one who takes the opportunity and builds on it is something very, very important. Now, whenever you start something, I think one important thing is that we need to do what is called as a SWOT analysis. And SWOT stands for strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats. So obviously at that particular time, leaving AIIMS, a secure job, your parents would be against it, your wife would be against it. Children weren't big enough to say as to whether they are against it or for it or whatever it is, but yes, I did do a SWOT analysis, and I did do as to what you want to write. So all of you who have written any papers for journals or intend to write papers, the easiest thing to write is the materials and methods and the results. Okay, and then the discussion, and then the intro. But the most difficult part is to write the abstract, and the most difficult part is to write one-liner, that is the title. So don't write a big story, but just put it on to half a page as to what you want, what is your vision and what you want to do, and what are your strengths, weaknesses, and analysis you do about that. So my strength at that particular time was the kind of genoon, one would say, that you had to set up and make something happen. The second thing was that phacoemulsification was something that was very close to my heart, and that is something I felt would change ophthalmology. We had a lot of naysayers about phacoemulsification, very dangerous technique, causes corneal burns, does a nucleus drop, iris chapping, this, that, which we have never seen before, and what is the need for early rehabilitation for a patient. Those were the things that were saying, and the naysayers were huge. If we would go and give a talk on phacoemulsification, there would be 4 speakers, and there will be 3 people who will be listening. So that is where we started, but the person has to have a faith, unwavering faith in something, and I think that was something that I will say. And then refractive surgery. So these were 2 things that actually came in, and then we obviously took this thing that we should stand out to be outstanding, and therein I think Lalit is here, Dr. Harsh should be joining soon. We got in, I think the first person to join me from RP Center was Dr. Harsh Kumar, then Lalit Verma ji, and then Dinesh Talwar came in, and then we had a lot of other people. Santosh is here, Babu, they are all 10 years and more with Center for Sight. So our teachers, Professor Dada, Professor Tiwari, Professor Prem Prakash, now Pradeep Sharma, again our contemporary. So we actually got in the best talent pool to get into Center for Sight, and I'm proud to say that people associated in ophthalmology, being key opinion leaders, we have the maximum in Center for Sight. And then, as I said, what was our strength was the phaco phenomena, which we started in 1991 in RP Center, and that is where we went on. 1996, the first book of phacoemulsification was released by an Indian author, and then every nook and corner, I would say, we did live surgery demonstrations to show people as to what this science and technique of phacoemulsification was. And that one particular thing actually takes you and builds you. And then the next thing was to take a big step. Coming from a middle class family, just took out my PF, I didn't even get a VRS, but the next thing was to invest in the technology of refractive surgery. And I think these 2 things looked at it. Now, I've talked briefly, I'll talk again about the strengths of the manpower, but the important thing is that technology which delivers is something which is very important. I don't know how many of you would recognize this person. He just got married again or remarried at the age of 91. So this is, you all would remember Neil Armstrong, I'm sure, and the foot on the moon, but this is Buzz Aldrin. He was the second guy who set step onto the moon. But none of you, or most of you, wouldn't be knowing as to who he is. So this is something that is important, that if you have to do something, you need to identify yourself or be known as to be the last word in that particular thing. And that is where Center for Sight has had technological expertise. And then you go along and see as to what all is required. The important thing, again, was to build a team. team Center for Sight, you have to actually create the people and give them the environment to work. You don't build a business, it is the people who work for the organization or the institution that builds the business. And we looked at doctors who were really great people in their field, who were key opinion leaders, I would say, who were masters, whether you look at retina, whether you look at oncology, squint or glaucoma or anything. So that is what you looked at that particular time, and constantly Center for Sight has looked at the best young talent being be selected and mentored, and also look at the specialty approach. The management team looks after the things which are not in the doctor's domain, and the doctors can focus on cure and care. And this is some of our doctors who are, you would be recognizing, we have two major journals from, you're sitting in a army area, this is an army cantonment, so we had General Parihar, General Patyal, Pradeep Sharma, you can recognize most of the people who are with us. And working collectively as a team is what builds an institution, and that is something which is that all of us have their roles. Medical directors, they do this thing. One needs to get out of the self, so you have to give away and you have to tell the people that, okay, you do these surgeries, I'm fine. You have to tell the patient, I know nothing about retina, I don't even know how to spell it, so go to my retina specialist, I don't know what squint is, so you go to the squint. So basically, you have to give to the people as to what it is. But you have to constantly work on yourself, and I think that's a treadmill, or that is a thing that one has to do, that you have to constantly keep on improving. There is no laxity that one can have in creating an institution. The other important thing is that brand name is something which grows, which takes time, but establishing a brand is something very important, and we are seeing that happen in healthcare now thick and fast. It is the brand value, or the brand as to what it stands for, what is the image of the brand, what is the mission, vision, and the values this brand has. And we believe that our brand has efficiency, precision, technology, and compassion. So these are the four things that is, and honest clinical care is something that Center for Sight prides itself for. There should not be any shortcuts in life, and I particularly feel that you have to give the patient honest clinical opinion, and that is what is very important. Now, the services that you are providing, I think in today's digital world, in today's information age, I think you need to again look at telling people as to what you are doing. And once this wholesome collective brand that has been established is, what does a brand stand for? A brand stands for certain protocols, certain SOPs. There is a brand recall that if you go to this place, you will get the best treatment. In ophthalmology, the quality of care is assured, professional and logistic support is assured. And also, I would say that we do not believe in underpricing ourselves. The price, what you feel you are worth, is something which is important. Give identity to the product and set it apart from the other products. You should not, if you have to do something big or you have to create an institution, you should not be a Me Too product. A Me Too product essentially means that what everybody else is doing, you are also doing, until of course you are doing something more, that you enter the portal of a particular place and you want everything in ophthalmology, you will get it. I think that makes it. Or even if you are doing, maybe you do phaco or a LASIK and you go to a tier 3 city where there isn't anyone doing that, that again will give you a USP or a unique selling proposition. So you would be, you could create a brand onto this thing. So there are various models. You have to pick and choose as to where you are, and that is what you want. I think, as I told you, technology is something that you have to embrace. You cannot run away from technology. I have had a lot of people talking about, no, we will continue with ECC and then maybe somebody on to SICS, etc. But you can see that there are the people who have been able to have built on technologies which are there. Education is something that you have to do within yourself and you have to give to others, and I think iFocus is a fantastic example, being run for over a decade. Dr. Santosh is obviously somebody who's done this great, you see what he has done for the Indian Journal of Ophthalmology. So education is something very important. We are proud to say that we have long-term and short-term observership, long-term fellowships. We do get about 10 times the number of applications that we have. And we have fellowships in almost all these specialities, wet labs, etc. You have been, half of you have been to Dwarka and half of you will be to Dwarka on this Sunday. And that is what we are looking at. R&D is something which is very important that any institution or any organization should look at, because that is what the future is. In-house ethics committee, 3 ongoing major international trials. There's something I'll be talking tomorrow. We did the FDA phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. We were the only center, and then NN came on as the second center for the ELITA, which is the Johnson Johnson lenticule extraction, which is there. We are looking at bioequivalent. Dr. Lalit Verma is working on that. With BARC, Santosh has started the plaque therapy in India, which used to cost 10 lakh rupees to do that. I think the price is down to below 1 lakh, etc. Training in research and methodology, mandatory podium presentation for all fellows. Center for Sight today has more than 50 publications every year that is coming on to you. So a couple of things which I'll tell you for young people, just to fire you and ignite you. Unfortunately, in MBBS, we are not taught anything about management. AIMS just announced that they will have people from IAMs, etc., talking to students. I think that is very important. Hamari soch as a doctor is very limited. It's very tubular. So I think you need to look at, there is the startup culture that is gaining great ground. I think India has the best talent pool that is available. So guys, go out and live your dream. What you have to look at making it successful. If you have to, I think you have to take the risk. Risk reward is opposite. So basically, no risk, no gain, no pain, no gain. So these are the things that you have to understand. I think it took 22 years since I left AIMS to get this dream of creating Center for Sight Eye Institute. Obviously, land is at a premium in Delhi, and getting that money from self-earned income did take a time. And this is the center, I would say, in the private sector we are proud, which is dedicated to research, education, and higher learning. So today, if we look at Center for Sight in 2023, these are the areas where we are. And except for South India, we are almost everywhere. We have 77 centers, 22 of them NABH accredited. Out of these 17, there are about 15 that are vision centers. We are in 14 states and union territories. We have 174 doctors on rolls, and we have a footfall of 1.4 million for the financial year 23. That is what we have. But mind you, we are not OPD clinics or anything. We are great surgical centers, and 70% of our revenue comes from surgical centers. So the blue areas are the areas where Center for Sight are today, and this is what we have achieved. The average doctor experience is something very important. Most eminent medical team in the country, effectively underlining the focus on clinical excellence. 14 plus is the years of our doctors. Medical directors experience, if you look at 31 years plus. AIMS doctors, we have 20, and Padma Shri awardees, we have 3 of them in our this thing. Doctor attrition, proud to say, is less than 2%. And this is just various people who are the credentials we have as regards things. So a couple of guiding things which made us an institution or what we are today. I would say I always believe in this Japanese word. It's not that you take a jump from here to the 5th floor. What you have to do is kaizen. That is change for the good with small incremental steps. You have to take small incremental steps. You have to, if you have to reach the top, you will have to go through each step one by one, and that is with hard work. And this is Dashrath Maji, who with his own toil could make a road cutting through the mountain, and this is what he did. So work will work when nothing else works. So friends, I think 2 things. One is koi kaam chota nahi hota. When you are doing things, you should learn everything. Even anything that is there today, you feel that I don't want to do a refraction, or I don't. So anything that you do, it stands you in good stead. And I think even till today, most of us sitting on the dais would be working more than 12 hours a day, 365 days a week, 365 days a year. So goals need to be set, and if you have to accomplish those goals, I think there is no shortcuts without being disciplined. Self-discipline is something very important, and that is the discipline that you need to have within your organization, and that is the culture in Centropathite that we have proclaimed, and we have done that. So this is something which Kalamji said. Can I have the audio, or is it
We
visible?
should stand for a culture of excellence.
Can you hear that?
The excellence not by accident. It is a process
Uncha kar.
where an individual continuously strives to better oneself. The performance standards are set by themselves. They work on their dreams with focus and are prepared to take calculated risk and do not get deterred by failures as they move towards their dreams.
Of their dreams as they tend to reach the original targets. They strive to work to their potential. In the process, they increase their performance, thereby multiplying further their potential. This is an unending life cycle phenomena, culture of excellence. They are not in competition with anyone else but themselves. That is a culture of excellence. I'm sure each one of you will aspire to become a unique with culture of excellence. To get the unique you, it's a big battle. The battle means you don't need to take a gun. The battle means you have to have 4 unique things. 4 unique tools you must have in that battle. One is you have to set the goal. The second one is acquire the knowledge continuously. And third one is hard work with devotion. And fourth is perseverance. Question is whether you want to be you or everybody else.
So friends, I hope all of you do well in life, and work hard, work sincerely, have the perseverance, and may God bless you with all the glory and success in life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that sneak peek into how the institutions are built and how the teams are taken together. Now we move on to the award ceremony. iFocus has always been fortunate to award 3 awards to the best of the best from Indian and even international ophthalmology. So we start with iFocus Icon Oration and Award. This year, iFocus Icon Oration and Award is going to Dr. Virender Sagwan for his inspirational work throughout his life. Let's have an introduction of Dr. Sagwan first.
Slept outside her house one still summer night. A vengeful neighbor crept up and splashed acid on her, corroding her face and damaging her eyes. Clinicians at the L.V. Prasad Eye Institute, supported by an active scientific research program, were taking limbal stem cells from healthy eyes, culturing them in the lab on human amniotic membrane, and transplanting them onto damaged eyes. Such a transplant was performed on Sheikh Hasina's damaged eye, and after a period of follow-up care, she was able to see with one eye that had not been completely eaten away by the acid.
He didn't get into medical school in the first attempt, but luckily for ophthalmic innovation and research in India, Dr. Virender Singh Sagwan did not give up and decided to try again. Today, he is at the cutting edge of research in the field of eye care and surgery, and this is his story. Coming from a humble background from village Mandola in district Bhiwani in Haryana, he had decided at a very young age to pursue medicine in order to fulfill his dream of serving the society. After completing his post-graduation, he started his ophthalmic career at LV Prasad Eye Institute in Hyderabad to achieve his dreams and goals. His approach to life had always been very unconventional, an example of which is joining Orbis International immediately after his fellowship. The years he spent in Orbis also made him grow in perspective. Like he mentions, his key learnings from the time on the plane were: take opportunities that interest you, money follows. Be willing to challenge your perspective for better opportunities, and also you may not know your potential, but trust feedback. Throughout his medical career spanning over 4 decades, he has positively impacted the lives of millions from all over the world, be it as patients or students. Despite of being recognized, awarded, and felicitated on numerous occasions, at his very core, he remains a humble human being, continuing to draw inspiration from. In LV Prasad Eye Institute, he was at the peak of his career, but he chose to disrupt himself and moved to Delhi, where he joined Shroff Charity Eye Hospital in 2018. And since then, he has made significant contributions by spearheading major changes. He established the Basic Science Research Lab with cutting-edge equipment and state-of-the-art facilities, providing an ideal platform for translational research and innovation in eye care. In addition to his impressive research accomplishments, he is a beloved teacher who enjoys sharing his expertise with the next generation of scholars. He has served as a mentor to many, inspiring and supporting students to pursue their academic and professional goals. This dedication and passion for teaching has helped foster a culture of academic excellence at Shroff Charity Eye Hospital. His current interest is to continue and multiply the work he has done over the last 20 years to become a fitness role model for the millennials in engineering the eye innovations, to find advanced and affordable solutions, and to inspire this next generation of surgeons to think outside the box, to improve, invent, and implement good eye care across our nation and beyond. Thank you for watching.
May I request Professor Maipal Sachdev to hand over a bouquet to Dr. Virender Sangwan first? Now Professor Maipal Sachdev will read out citation.
Proud moment for us to give this citation award to Dr. Virender Sangwan. Sir, please. This is in recognition for his excellence in clinical ophthalmology and translational research, out-of-box thinking, and exemplary leadership skills. I think he's the biggest person today in research in India in ophthalmology. The spectacular and heartwarming success story of Dr. Sangwan is a bright beacon of inspiration to every young ophthalmologist. Dr. Sangwan, starting with his residency in ophthalmology in Rohtak, nurtured a spectacular yet an uncharacteristically shy and a silent dream to leave a glorious legacy behind him. He has a burning desire and capacity to arduous work, patience, native smartness, what people call jugaad, and perseverance are his major virtues. The transformation of this young ophthalmologist into a consummate professional and a visionary clinician and a researcher was the result of his all-pervasive attitude of seeking and giving happiness, purely positive and focused mindset, ability to collaborate and build a team, power to convince even the worst of detractors, and sheer hard work. Dr. Sangwan, as you all know, pioneered translational and clinical research on the then untreatable maladies of ocular surface and sequentially brought about several rewarding modalities with ocular surface reconstruction. Mind you, a very difficult field for people, and none would venture into ocular surface disorders. and novel limbal stem cell treatments that he has. He'll be remembered simply for his innovation, the SLET, which has revolutionized the management of ocular surface disorders across the world and has benefited thousands of patients. As a teacher, Dr. Sangwan is known for his hands-on approach towards his trainees. They love him and remains their go-to man, lifelong friend, philosopher and guide. His training includes not only ophthalmology but life coaching, practice management, and financial skills. Dr. Sangwan is truly an icon to look up to for inspiration. He has shown what a bright young ophthalmologist with an ignited mind and out of the box thinking can do to build an outlasting legacy. This honor is being bestowed today on Dr. Virender Singh Sangwan, that is 3rd of March 2023 at iFocus, the National Postgraduate Education Program in New Delhi, India.
हाँ स्टूडेंट वीडियोस और साउंड भी लगा देंगे इधर लगेगा साउंड आउटपुट Can we switch the projection? Good morning, and I would like to thank Dr. Maipal Sachdev, Dr. Santosh, and CFS for giving me this honor. And this morning I would like to speak a little bit about my another thought, that how you become a clinician scientist, because all of you are at very young stage of your career and finishing your residency. So the obvious question in your mind will be, which all of us have, is how to make your living. And that's okay to have that thought, because that's the first thing that we do in life, to become financially viable so that you can run your family, your life. But if you have some element in your desire that you want to do something different, don't allow that fire to quench, or keep that alive and keep working on it. And I'll illustrate that, what I had and how did I manage these things. When I joined LVP in 1998 March, this patient I saw very early, within few months of joining. he had multi-recurrent pterygium, 6 times he had been operated, all surgery techniques were failed, and he was about to lose his job as a train driver in the Indian Railways. And he had 2 young kids, very young kids. If he loses the job, his whole family is going to be, upside down. So what I did at that time, and I discussed with my seniors that can we combine excision of pterygium with conjunctival limbal autograft, with mitomycin C, with amniotic membrane. But everyone said, well, we have not used, we don't know. I said, okay, I'm going to try. And following that, gentlemen told me that the amount of time you have spent in this surgery is more than 6 previous surgeries. Then I asked, does it mean that I am a bad surgeon, or does it mean that they were very good surgeons? He said, sir, I don't know, but this is what my feeling is. In the end, I said, look, now it has not come for next 2 years. His vision improved 2025, and he saved his job as a train driver, and his both kids are very well placed engineers.
My name is Gautam Sharma.
Can we increase the volume?
उस टाइम पे चूना गिरा था मेरी आइज़ में, और देन आई टोटली
Can you
लॉस्ट माय
hear?
विजन. 13 to 14 सर्जरी हो चुकी है, उसमें लास्ट वन को छोड़ के सारी फेलेवर थी, और उसमें 6 months के लिए विज़न आता था और फिर वापस चला जाता था. प्रॉब्लम्स बहुत होती थी, बट मैं मैनेज कर लेता था. उस काफ़ी बुक को काफ़ी नियर से देखना पड़ता था, और भी प्रॉब्लम्स होती थी. ब्लैक बोर्ड का दिख नहीं पाता था, उसका काफ़ी नुकसान भी हुआ था. और जब मैं आंसर शीट में लिखता था तो लाइंस भी अप डाउन होती थी, लाइंस पे दूसरी लाइन लिख देता था. उसमें मेरे को मतलब जितना मार्क्स का मैं करता था उसका हाफ ही मिल पाता था हर बार. और अभी लास्ट में जो बोस्टन कैप्रो हुआ है, उसके बाद से 2.5 years से मेरे को 20/20 विज़न है, और सारे वर्क्स इजीली कर रहा हूँ. उसके पहले काफ़ी प्रॉब्लम्स होती थी. अभी मैंने ग्रेजुएशन कंप्लीट किया है, एंड नाउ आई एम डूइंग पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन फ्रॉम राजस्थान यूनिवर्सिटी जयपुर. फादर के साथ आता था मैं, बट बोस्टन कैप्रो के बाद वो कभी कभी आते हैं, वैसे मैं अकेला ही ट्रिप करता हूँ. अभी भी जैसे विज़न अच्छा है तो मेरा मन काफ़ी पढ़ाई और करने का है. आई एम प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर इंडियन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सर्विसेज नाउ फ्रॉम दिल्ली. तो मैं अकेला रहता हूँ, कोई साथ नहीं रहता है, ऐसी कोई प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं आती है, लेकिन कि विज़न के कारण मेरे को कोई प्रॉब्लम आई.
So this boy was 6-year-old when I saw him in first time in LVP. Had a burn, chemical burn both eyes due to chuna. So at that stage, what his family faced was either go to a school for blind, or should we go into a different path. And I took him and tried all what I knew and what I could take risks. And today you hear him, he aspires to be an IS officer. Also, he has built a business of 1 crore turnover for his family, despite with all these challenges. So when we encounter problems, we must either accept that, okay, these are problem, or you must keep thinking that how do I find a solution. And when you are going to be a clinician, you will encounter problems on daily basis. So it depends on how you are going to react. Say, for example, when I was doing a fellowship in LVP, I encountered a patient with rheumatoid melt, and Dr. Rao told me that this patient needs to be seen by a rheumatologist. And there was a very famous rheumatologist in NIMS. So he said, please go and take to him. I looked out the literature, read about it, and I realized that this rheumatoid melt means the patient may develop visceral vasculitis and may die also. And only treatment is systemic immunosuppression. So I took to the rheumatologist, and rheumatologist said, see, there is no serum markers of active rheumatoid, therefore I can't give any immunosuppression. When I bring it back to Dr. Rao, he shouted at me, and he said, don't you realize that this lady will die if you don't do anything? Then he said, take these papers and go and throw it on the professor's mouth, that dekho kya ho jayega agar ye nahi. I said, Dr. Rao, how I can talk to a professor like this? Then he said, I don't care, you should go and take the patient. So I went again, I showed him paper, he said, this is your problem, ye ophthalmology mein hota hai, usme rheumatology mein nahi hota hai aise. In the process, I realized that the patient is becoming a football, and no one, because both the physician did not know how to use immunosuppressant, because they were not trained and they were scared. But they knew that it's going to be a problem. So at that time, I decided that I will specialize in these diseases, and I want to make a difference in those patients' eyes. And that's why I went for a immunology fellowship at Harvard Medical School after doing my Orbis stint for 2.5 years. When I came back in LVP, I learned many things there, and then I started thinking, how do I apply them
Process the
in
membrane
clinical?
within 12 hours of
this
retrieval
is one
to
example of
prevent
that.
the degeneration of cells and the detachment of the basement membrane from the compact layer.
Because no one is going to give you things ready-made. What you need, you have to work for and understand and create those things. You may get an organization, they may help you or support you, but ultimately
Now,
it's you who has to make a
separate the
difference.
amnion from the chorion without allowing the amnion to
Today
tear.
you may not know how the amniotic membrane. We started when I came back. Before that, in India, no one was using amniotic membrane. Even in US, there are very few people using it. So I learned during my research fellowship how to process it, and then replicated that process in LVP. And today we use extensively, not only for cornea, for variety of surgeries, and there's a tremendous distribution to outside LVP as well for people trained from there. Not only developing technique, implementing patient is helpful unless you study that, whether it is helpful, what are the side effects, what are the actual applications. If you just read in books and don't do it, there is no point. So these publications help you to improve your own understanding and improve the scientific content.
My name is Mrs. Batiraisha Yvonne Moyo from Zimbabwe. I had reaction, Stevenson-Johnson syndrome, due to a reaction of sulfur in a drug. Went to Lions Eye Hospital in Kenya. They told me my eyes were melting away, both of them. And she referred me here to LV Prasad Eye Hospital in India. When I met Dr. VS, my vision was zero because my eyes were not even opening at all. There was nothing like left on the eye. He said he wanted to do an immediate surgery for the complete reconstruction of both eyes. He said I had to give my eyes time to heal. After that, he was going to do a corrective surgery to improve my eyesight. So as the eyes were healing, sight was restored on the right eye. I went through a cataract surgery, and right now my eyesight on the right has improved from 0 to 40%. Within a space of a year, things have improved drastically. I can now do things independently. I'm able to open my eyes without straining them. I'm able to see around me, and actually...
This is a patient who took the Steven-Johnson episode as very positively and proactively, and something that you learn as a physician from your patients, that how you take what happens to you and how do you react. Steven-Johnson and its sequela, you know that 20-30% of the patient die in the acute stage, and those who survive, they are left with these scars all over the body, and most of them lose eyesight over a period of time. And that was the situation, at least when I started my ophthalmic career. I used to feel that there's only thing that I used to heard that nothing can be done about this. And this is something that these patients have to live with that situation. Over the years, what we have started learning that it is the lid margin which is one of the major complications, and if we can stop that process by somehow and doing a mucous membrane grafting is the simplest thing that can be done and taught to not only oculoplastic surgeons, maybe all cornea surgeons, maybe general surgeons. And this has been making a big difference, which has created one of the procedures which is viable. For dermalized surfaces like this, the only option what we had is MOOKP, and MOOKP gives reasonably or very good outcome, but the surgical procedure and the process of doing surgery is very complex. It's not possible for most of the eye surgeons to practice that surgery unless you are a very big institution. and have a big functional team. Also, the MOOKP cannot be done in pediatric SJS. So we encountered, when we started doing MOOKP in LVP, we did about 30 surgeries, tremendous amount of complication rate, and outcomes were very good. But the patient, most of the patients were not happy because they see themselves in their face, and they were not very, had a good feeling about it. And pediatric patient, we couldn't do anything. So while doing those procedures, I started realizing, can we do a K-Pro under the mucous membrane graft and not have to do MOOKP? So we started conceptually something called LVP K-Pro, and this is like MOOKP, we do a stage 1 mucous membrane grafting from the lip or the cheek mucosa, hook all the muscles after cleaning the pannus, and then we designed a K-Pro with Oro lab, slightly differently, and then transplanted first stage this mucous membrane graft, leave for 3 months, and then go back and do a K-Pro under the mucous membrane graft. And this is called LVP K-Pro. We compared the outcome of LVP K-Pro versus MOOKP. 5-year survival rate, the vision outcome is excellent. Cosmos is much better in LVP K-Pro. And now we have replaced that technique, at least in our hand. After doing those surgeries, we prefer to do LVP K-Pro for these end stages. While doing these, for management of retina, we realized that there are other tools that we need to equip. So endoscopic VR system we started using extensively very early in our team. We learned from masters and developed young surgeons into ocular surface and these K-Pro surgeons. So do you think that we have the best management for SJS? At least I don't think that we have still, there's a lot of things need to improve. We have made their life somewhat better, like mucous membrane grafting and PROS lens or the scleral lens, which is now available in India, made in India and available. So those things work well. Cataract surgery works well. Again, I was told during early career that SJS don't touch, no surgery works well. But cataract surgery works well. MSGT, minor salivary gland transplantation works well. Punctal cautery will help. So PKP, the SJS for me is an ongoing challenge, and still I think in next 10 years we should be able to do something much better. These are examples of our cataract surgery very early on what we did, and these are the cases where most people did not attempt doing surgeries in these eyes. So do learn, publish, because that's how you can make a larger community aware of this. Another problem, VKC and limbal stem cell deficiency, never reported and was a problem. We encountered it first there in 2001. This is such a patient.
A year ago, Abhishek Sharma was almost completely blind from a degenerative corneal disease found mostly in the tropics.
Look down. Look up.
Surgeon Virendra Sangwan decided the last hope was a stem cell transplant.
You said you're doing really well.
3 months later, Dr. Sangwan says, the grafted stem cells taken from Sharma's parents to lessen the chance of rejection seem to be working.
Is he out of the woods, doctor? It's not really out of the woods, but we have to be on watch, and he has to be on a treatment, I said, to prevent the rejection. No, Dr. Sangwan is really God for me. He makes me able to see, and I can see, and I can read, I can drive my bike, and come back to my...
So this boy also faced the same dilemma. After 10th, the choice was to go to a school for blind. In fact, he was taken for a school for blind, but somebody told them, okay, go and try if something can be done in LVP. And after this stem cell treatment we took from mother, grew in the lab and transplanted. After that, he has finished his MBA. He has a family and a business. So when you develop new technology, new things, even in a good organization, it's not that you will be allowed or you will get a very simple path. Always it's going to be a challenge. Why? Because all of us have very different perspective, different beliefs, different fears, apprehension, and may not be the intention is that somebody wants to stop you, but it is how human beings are. So you need, in addition to your clinical and surgical, as Mahipal was saying, that you need to understand the management skills, the financial, technology. We need to have all these kind of skills to run your life, to run your career. I'll give you an example of how you conceptualize a study and take it to the final translation level. This was a, don't read all this complex name, simply we wanted to develop an artificial amniotic membrane. And why we wanted to develop, listen to this collaborator.
Using a synthetic scaffold will be more ideal because there's not going to be so much variation. It's going to be more predictable, and it's easy to synthesize. And that ends up being this rotate, pull the scaffold off the surface, and I can actually culture cells onto it after.
Now we have a ring that will sit around the eye that will contain little pockets like limbal stem cell niches. And these I'm likening to a sort of unfurnished flat, that the limbal stem cells will go into these niches, make their own, and then use these as little hidey holes or caves from which they will then divide and send daughter cells out of the cave over the membrane over the front of the eye.
This is Professor Sheila McNeil, who is from UK, and she wrote to me in 2008, 2009, asking, will I collaborate with her to make these limbal stem cell transplanter simpler and safer. And her idea, when I listened to her explaining me what she wants, is that she will make pockets in the artificial amniotic membrane, and then we can grow the cells on the surface of the eye. And that was the aha moment. Then I told her, Sheila, I'm going to do this surgery before we develop the membrane. She said, no, but this is a 3-year grant which we have to finish and then you can do. I said, no, but I'll do on amniotic membrane. And she was really got scared. I said, no, it's surgery. In my mind, I got the surgery. And within few days, I started doing that surgery. Eventually, we got that grant and we completed that work. And this basically, we developed a synthetic membrane which needed lot of lab work, both sides. In the lab, in the rabbit, we did on the human cornea. Basically, we showed that the limbal stem cell you grow on the amniotic membrane and the synthetic membrane performs well in the lab and in the rabbit model. I'll show you the rabbit model. This was the rabbit model which we studied at Vimta Labs in Hyderabad and published that data. And then if you want to translate that technology to humans, you have to go to DCGI and regulatory body, whichever in that country, but in our country it is DCGI. So we were given permission to do 5 patients, and one of these patients just shows you here that with the artificial amniotic membrane, we could achieve the same kind of results with SLAT. And now this company from UK, electrospinning company, is developing this as a commercial, and myself and Harminder Dua are helping them as an advisor or as a expert in developing that technology further. What did we get out of that project? We have a wonderful team. We published a lot of papers which has impacted the field. Another example that we wanted to develop a bioengineered cornea, which means that we can replace with, with the human donor cornea, we may not need enough of them. So this is a group in Sweden led by Meg Griffith. We had a Indo-Swedish grant where we developed a recombinant human collagen-based artificial cornea, and this was the lab work, and this is the actual patient whom we transplanted such a recombinant collagen using a Femato LASIK, making the flap, removed it, and then similar size you cut with the laser and replace that cape, and on top of that you put some sutures. Essentially it is not a suturable, and but you can do overlay sutures. This is the fibrin glue I was putting, and I'll skip the surgery part, but you can see the post-op appearance, and this patient regained 20-25 vision with the correction and did well. Then we did a multi-center trial international and published the result of this recombinant collagen made cornea in different acute conditions, and not only in the keratoconus. In the process, we have developed some patents, and now I'm working with a company in Bangalore called Pandorum Technologies for developing a liquid cornea. What I mean is, liquid means, would it not be very nice that if you have a gel and you have a minor scar, and you just scoop out that scar with laser or with the trephines and fill that crater with the liquid collagen with stem cells or exosomes and restores the transparency, restores your stroma. So you will think about Moran's ulcer, you will see chemical injuries, you can think of lamellar grafts, and all these will have an application. So to address that, we have established a translational research here at SROF, which I had started in LVP. So here we are doing a rabbit model where we try this different combination of the polymer with and without exosomes. And this is a lab in DRF, Dabur Research Foundation. We have taken the laboratory facilities on rent. So we are developing, and it's a very advanced stage right now. Now I want to touch upon the training. The last part, few slides. How do we train fellows and residents? All of you know, in most of the medical colleges, the quality of training is extremely poor. I don't know whether you agree or not, but that's my assumption, and that's what the feedback that I get from our fellows. So there are most of the places do not have a dedicated operating room only for trainees. You don't have a good wet lab, and we have the best input as a medical graduate, and we turn out average or below average surgeons. So the problem is not with the students, the problem is with the training system. And that's something that you people, as you grow out, should reflect on, how you can change. In my view, the problems are the training in general is very long, and it's very inefficient, because it's based on a very century-old model, see one, do one, teach one, apprenticeship model, which to me is very outdated. We have a much better quality of equipment, technology, AR, VR, all those kind of things we should incorporate in our trainings. How I would like to train, this is my thought process, and someday give it into a concrete shape, that in medical, your surgical training should start when you are in medical school. So develop your surgical temperament, thought process, decision making. Start using AR and VR, maybe start suturing, start wound care, transplantation, all those things you don't have to do on actual patient. I'll show you some of the factors which inhibit our training and as you become surgeon. There's something called amygdala hijack.
So I had to learn about this system.
I'm sure as a medical student you know that.
Triggered by things
what is
around
amygdala?
me and moves me toward ineffective default behaviors. So if you see somebody becoming sort of a little more commanding, controlling, becoming directive, speaking loudly, that means they're starting to hijack. And of course, there are degrees of hijack. We don't always go right from 7 to 2 or 1. Sometimes we're late for a meeting, we hit traffic, and we're a little bit hijacked now. So we're thinking a little bit less clearly. And of course, when we're hijacked, the amygdala is trying to protect us. So we become more self-referential. It does become more about us. We're a little more reactive. We're a little more judgmental. So even if we're hijacked a little bit, we're still feeling the effects. And those chemicals will stay in your system for up to 4 hours. That's why if you have a difficult meeting in the morning and in the afternoon you're still not feeling quite right, it's because your amygdala is still trying to protect you. It thinks you're going to get attacked again. And in fact, you might. It just might be by somebody sending an email that frustrates you or pisses you off. Okay? So the system, and by the way, default behavior when you get an email that pisses you off, reply to all, right? Right? That's where that default behavior comes from, okay? So it's about, and then you look at that 20 minutes later and go, your working memory starts to clear up and think, I probably shouldn't have written that, right? Okay, you've all been there. We've all been there. It happens to all of us. I used to go there a lot.
Does that happen with you people? Well, I come across this concept early on in my surgical career, because when I just started doing phaco in 2000, around 2000 when I joined back, 99, 2000, after say few years, 4 or 5 years, I started thinking, oh, I'm a good phaco surgeon now. But some days it will be like for many months, there won't be any complication, there won't be any piece rent. Some days you will have 4 or 5 out of a list of 20. And I didn't understand why it happened. Then I started analyzing the days in the morning I'm upset with somebody, with myself or with my wife or with my colleague or in a meeting, because that is what affects your surgeries. And then when you go to the OT, nurse says, oh, this patient has not come, it's not dilated, you start getting upset. So I learned that, started reading about amygdala hijack, and that is how I changed how now on my OT day, nobody can disturb me at any cost, whatever happens. Another example, biologically what happens in amygdala hijack is that this is a stress response, and it's conveyed through ascending reticular activating system. So it's basically your frontal lobe, which is the seat for rational decision making, gets blocked, and you act only emotional level. And what you get is worried. You get worried about what people will think, what my senior will think, what patient will, how I am going to tell the patient. All those factors will start affecting you. And this also happens when we see complications, when we see difficult patient, when we see in the OPD also it happens. So be aware, learn little bit about this. And this is a very dramatic example of amygdala hijack.
He did what? This is kind of give us a bit more of a clue. He said something? He certainly said something. Now what happens? He's saying some more. Well, the pictures tell the story.
So
he leaves football in disgrace. And he leaves his team in big trouble.
So he was the best player, and France was supposed to win that World Cup. What do you think what might happen? It might be a deliberate ploy also by the Italians. It's not necessary that it was unintentional. And it happens with you, with me in everyday life also. What people say, what they say, how much do you react? If you don't pay attention, this might be you are doing. And this may be deliberate. The VR based training, I think it's something technology should become a big part, and I'll show you example that what we started developing in LVP using the Holo eye anatomy, this device from
Augmented reality adds a whole new dimension to teaching and learning. Human eye anatomy can be studied in greater detail, with the learning made more experiential. This enables us to holistically study the eyeball, ocular adnexa, and the visual pathway. It also allows us to split individual parts to their component layers, as in the case of the cornea, and also allows us to pick individual cells to study them in detail.
Today, being a surgical and medical teacher is very exciting and a great fun, primarily because of these new technologies which create a multi-dimensional experience for learning. So there are many other things that I did other than the cornea and uveitis and research at LVP. Started this innovation center along with MIT of US and BITS Pilani. Established an accommodation research lab with Australian collaborators. Special collaboration with the engineering group in Germany for developing new technologies for corneal surgery. A molecular research grant from the Santen. Understanding can we use stem cells for the treatment of uveitis and not have to use systemic steroids and immunosuppressives. And also started the clinical trials center and established it over next 10-15 years and did many clinical trials. So all those things will make you a better doctor. My advice to you is be action oriented, do more surgeries, see more patients, and don't compare yourself with other doctors in your hospital. Because you became doctor to treat patient, not to compare with others, right? Learn to deal with your fear of failure and fear of criticism. It will happen. If not anyone, you will criticize yourself. So be aware that criticism is not always good. Healthy criticism is good. Understand your strengths and weaknesses. Don't be self-critical always. Believe in yourself and be nice to yourself. Treat yourself gently when you're down, especially when you have complications. And they will happen throughout your life. My mantra has been collaborate, and share your work and your ideas with others. That will only help you grow and not really take away anything from you. Thank you very much. And I thank you again, Dr. Mahipal Sachdev. Santosh, and the whole CFS team for this opportunity to share my ideas. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words. Now I'd like to invite our AIOS President, Dr. Lalit Verma, sir, to talk about the inspiration behind iFocus. Unfortunately, Professor H.K. Tiwari, sir, is no longer with us physically, but he remains in our hearts, and we dedicate each iFocus to him. So, Dr. Lalit Verma, sir, just to say a few words to those who could not have the fortune of possibly having met Dr. H.K.T., sir.
Dr. Tiwari, or HKT, lovingly we called him, he was the doyen of retina in India. You see, I was fortunate enough to be trained by him, and he was not only a mentor to me, but to hundreds of retina people in India who are now having a flourishing practice, whether in private practice or in institutions. And he rose from, he did his post-graduation from RP Center and rose on to become the director and the chief of RP Center. Also held the position of Dean of All India Institute of Medical Sciences. All of you know he was decorated with so many awards and so many orations. But what is more important was that, he was a man of masses. I have yet to come across a person who says anything ill about him. And you see, whatever I am today is because of him, because he gave me the confidence to operate not only buckling and VR surgery and so many other procedures in retina, primarily because he was always sitting by my side whenever we were operating. He was a true teacher. You see, this iFocus is dedicated to him primarily because I think he was a teacher of teachers. And you see, operating a complex VR surgery, is, especially once you are learning, is not so easy. And having a senior sitting by you and operating on his case gives you double the amount of confidence. And the other thing he did was he created a retina lab at RP Center. Those of you who have visited, RP Center or are in RP Center, there is a very nice facility there consisting of 16 rooms. That retina lab is, equipped with everything. Not only RP Center, but also the entire ophthalmology or AIOS, he rose from position of joint secretaryship to the president, and whatever AIOS is today is a lot of contribution from Dr. H.K. Tiwari. Besides that, apart from his other qualities of as a clinician or as a human, he was a great human being. You see, tears flow down my eyes today, becoming emotional when Ritika told me to speak about him. I miss him very, very dearly. In any case, I will not be able to speak much, but I have a small write-up which I wrote a long time back. Dearest sir, our most beloved teacher, guide and mentor, God saw you getting tired and a cure was not to be. So he put his arms around you and whispered, come to me. With tearful eyes we watched you and saw you pass away. Although we loved you dearly, we could not make you stay. A golden heart stopped beating, hard-working hands at rest. God broke our hearts to prove to us He only takes the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for a befitting tribute to an inspiration. We now move on to the Golden Apple Award. to a teacher most loved, and I had the proud privilege of being one of his students. With every surgical maneuver, he gave us an inspiration, and till date, I think as his students, every time we operate, we have his surgery playing in our mind. So, introducing to you Padam Shri Professor Jeevan S. Titial sir, the Chief of RP Center at present, but someone who inspires us as a surgeon, a clinician, a leader, and a human being. May I request Dr. Mahipal to honor Dr. Titial sir with a bouquet of flowers.
indeed a proud privilege to honor Dr. Tityal, a close friend, Amazonian. We have learned, studied together, and had great times together. So Professor Jeevan Tityal, in recognition of his pious dedication and extreme passion for teaching and inspiring generations of residents in ophthalmology, Padam Shri Professor Jeevan Tityal's trainees at Dr. RP Center, AIMS, and his direct and indirect descendants make up a significant proportion of those who practice cornea, refractive surgery, and cataract surgery in India. Born in Tidank, a small village at the Indo-Nepal border in Uttarakhand state, Dr. Tityal's unsatiable hunger for knowledge and an unstoppable desire to excel brought him to AIMS to study medicine. He has patiently scaled the ladder to become the chief of Dr. Rajendra Prasad Center of Ophthalmic Sciences, the highest official academic position an ophthalmologist can reach in India. Professor Tityal leads by example and has a sharp focus on excellence in patient care and training. His mentorship is legendary and has had a deep, profound, and indelible impact on the way his students approach life in general, patient care as a whole, and the practice of ophthalmology in particular. With his core personal philosophy of Geo and Ginedo, Professor Tityal is a friend of all, foe of none, and lifelong mentor to the lucky ones. An astute and an empathetic clinician with masterly surgical skills, I would say he's one of the best surgeons in India. I always call him as a great craftsman and a healing touch, an academician par excellence, and an impactful speaker, and recently honed musical skills to match. He is a complete and a consummate gentleman. Professor Tityal is an ideal role model for the younger generation interested in the practice of institution-based academic ophthalmology, and for everyone who believes in the concept, live and let live. This honor is being bestowed upon Professor Tityal on March 3rd, 2023 at iFocus, the National Postgraduate Education Program, New Delhi. Congratulations, Dr. Tityal.
Sir, may I invite you for your talk, please?
No sound. Good afternoon, friends. So nice to see young people sitting in the audience, and it makes you feel young also. Thank you again, the entire Center for Sight team, especially Dr. Mahipal Sachdev, and the entire group of people who are working in the Center for Sight, and the iFocus team. I am really indebted to this honor to me, and I feel really honored to be sharing stage with such luminaries of this ophthalmic field. And today, the talk which I thought I'll give is, Santosh said you give some talk which is, motivational talk. And the motivation is there sitting on the dais. I'm going to just, prove that what I want to talk is already you have seen, and you have seen them sitting there, and they have achieved all these things. So that is the, importance of this day, that people sitting in the audience should aim to become a person like Dr. Virendra Sehwan, Dr. Mahipal Sachdev, or Dr. Ramani, Dr. Lalit, and Dr. Dogra sitting in the audience. They are all role model for us, for you people also. And my talk is going to in that direction only. Can I have my slides, please? Okay, the idea was to what are the important points for younger people to get through those difficult scenarios to become a good clinician, good surgeon, or a good human being. That is how I talk into a younger generation when I interact with them. What should we do to become a good person? And if you look into a training-wise, it is basically the residency training which has been the basic step which keep you running into those areas to become ultimately an ophthalmologist of repute. So we did have the very, very unstructured teaching maybe in the beginning. Now, luckily, we have a quietly, consistently made programs across the country which will give you the access for actual learning to become a good young ophthalmologist. For that, I think whatever theory you read, whatever theory you practice, whatever theory you see has to translate into practical ones so that you actually practice onto patient care, or delivering your skill to a patient to achieve the ultimate goal outcome to make patient happy with a better quality of life. So that is one way of thinking. If you can satisfy your patient, then you are a good clinician, good surgeon. So basically, it is a practical approach which will make things happening for all of us. So what makes a good ophthalmologist? What are those key points which are going to be part of our life, which is I'm going to take you through in this 10 minutes of my presentation. There are 5 or 6 important things. One, you have to be absolutely a good clinician. You should pick up what is the importance of knowing a clinical feature of patient. A skilled surgeon is always handy. Not everybody has to be surgeon. Surgeon is just a technician, but it is your clinical attitude which will translate into a surgery in practical way. Then you have to be a good teacher to yourself, to your students, your colleagues, and your patients. Be a good team player, and ultimately, most important thing is should be a good human being. If you are a good human being, you will be a good doctor also. Let's take the training part. As I said, there are 5 things: clinician, surgeon, counselor, team, or a good teacher is going to be a part of everything. Besides teaching, the bedside teaching, what I think is one of the important aspects of for a budding people to have something which can be grouped into yourself, your colleagues, your batchmates, your seniors and teacher. If that is taken together, yet that can be a group discussion which used to happen in our various institutions, happens in some other institution now also. And teaching in a patient area-wise, that is OPD, clinics, and bedside is important. The one important factor for teaching is what? It is the patient. Patients are there, that's why we are there. That's why the medicine is there. Therefore, I think the most important person in our lives should be a patient, and we should learn. We should learn to respect the patient. We should learn to respect the patient himself. That's how things will change. The patients, look into the scenario like AIIMS New Delhi. A lot of crowd is there. Patient may be waiting for hours and hours to reach a doctor for an ultimate examination and consultation, which normally in the RP center, the study were done before the COVID. It took a normal educated person, of young person, a 24-year-old person, to ultimately go through the refraction and come out, took 2.5 hours. So that is for a normal person. Imagine a poor patient with the visual impairment and 70 plus, how much time it will take if he has to go to retina assessment and treatment wise. If you think that time, a patient coming to with a simple question of a watering or irritation will not irritate you, because a patient has a symptoms and pain. Just imagine the time spent by patient to reach you, and if you say one soothing word, okay, I'll take care of you, that 2 hours of waiting will go off. That agony which patient would undergone in a place like ours where you don't have a proper drinking water place or sitting place also. This is your way to approach patient makes a huge difference. And making them comfortable is also important. Every area, it may be OPD, clinics, operation theater, when they enter, when they come out, this has to be made absolutely comfortable for. The one thing we should learn is the patient, and it will give you a patience to treat the patient also is very important. This is what we have been doing in the RP center, which Dr. Mahipal also stressed on. to look into actual learning through the patients. That is, we do have a pattern of teaching given to the resident doctors, interact with the patients. That can happen in the OPD, but you have a limited time there. That can happen in clinics, much more time there. The idea of making clinics way back in 70s was to not only to learn the things in a different way, to make it a specialized areas of learning, research, and have a clinical acumen, also to give access to the resident doctors to learn those specific areas. I think that is one important aspect of having a clinics in a department of ophthalmology to create a super specialty, and ultimately that worked out today. If you look into that, what we started in the 70s now actually is the super specialization happening in areas also. Today, the retina clinic is just like OPD. People come for okay, I want to see the person who is doing macular surgery only. People come for those person who says, I want to meet that person who treats only the retinoblastoma intra-arterial treatment. So that is the super specialization which has occurred, is basically because of segregating important areas, segregating important clinical areas so that you develop that particular area. Other important thing was to collect the data, which is so important for our modern generation treatment places. You have to have a data of your patients, your clinical data, your surgical data, so that you can expose yourself to a world, also create the new things out of those areas. Unless you have a data, you can't do anything. To make sure you have a proper data of whatever you are doing, and that will make things actually to improvise, which is I'm going to come subsequently, to make a future for all of us. Other important areas for us to look into for our younger people is, apart from the history-taking examination, the most important thing is the clinical reasoning of that particular scenario. The patient, the group sitting there, and that can only happen with your actual examination, and it is be checked by the another senior person or your colleagues. Sometimes I've seen a new case first time. Let's see, I've seen some sort of a keratopathy. Then I'm not sure what type of keratopathy it is. It can be checked by other person, collaborated by other people to have that diagnosis, and it also gives an opportunity to go back and see if that diagnosis are correct. If you have done a correct diagnosis, gives an encouragement to yourself that you knew about that and you'll be better off. Then you can go around your batchmate that I could diagnose that patient with such a diverse and remote presentation. Other thing is important is the competence which has to be generated by younger people. That will only come by your consistently working those patients in a manner where you are actual preceptor or a person who is going to check is happy and says good. So if I was a resident in RP center, I will feel satisfied. My senior resident who is taking the round says you have done a good work today. And that only happens by putting efforts from your side to do things which you are doing regularly and you are missing every day nowadays. And if you complete each and every point which is in your file or your EMR, things will be much better in these cases. Other important thing is the teacher who is taking a bedside training has to actually be well prepared also. If you're not well prepared, then you have to next day come prepared, because you're going to have discussion, you're going to have questions, answers coming, and you can correct, because there's a rotation happening. You have a patient in the OPD, then your patient might get admission for an investigation, for a management, and the subsequently surgery. And after surgery, patient will be again back to the bedside. If that situation there, actually you are completing the cycle of a patient management, and you are checking every point. And once you check every point, you can pick up the good thing done by a person, you can pick up the wrong thing done by a person, and you can correct that. A good teacher is that person who can pinpoint, this is the mistake you have done, and how it has to be corrected. Not that, okay, you have done good job. That doesn't satisfy the actual outcome of a particular case. A teacher will always pinpoint, okay, this is the step you have done incorrectly, should have been like this. Next time you do it like that, and that will actually be the teacher. Self-motivational learning is creating environment for all of us, and make sure the students also come prepared. If I know my rounds are taken by Dr. Prem Prakash, who was my squint head, then we used to be prepared at few days before and talk to many seniors like Dr. Lalit and other people. Say what type of question will be facing when Professor Prem Prakash takes around. So that is how you have to prepare yourself, or you have to hide behind the group of 120 people. That's not going to give you anything in future. That used to happen also. We used to hide behind some other person so that you're not picked up. But a better student will be in the front. He might ask some question you may not be able to answer. But if you answered wrongly also, he'll feel better. At least you had a courage to answer something. As a student, you should come out. You may be wrong, but doesn't matter. Ultimately, you get corrected also. Other important thing is a focus for yourself, for your patient, and the system which you are working on that will make really good. But what are the challenges we are facing in the bedside teaching now? If I leave all the 4 points which are written above, the 5th point is very, very important. If you look at today's scenario, the entire patient care is getting daycare treatment, where the cycle is broken. The cycle is not complete. We used to admit the patient, do a complete workup, discussion, investigation, come out with a final diagnosis, a management plan, do surgery, then see what has happened in these patients, then discharge the patient. And at the time of discharge also, earlier days, we used to have a summary of discharge, and those discharge summaries were discussed also. But that daycare system is another challenge for all of us to pass the knowledge skill to the younger person by pinpointing, as I said in the beginning, the mistake we have done or the good thing we have done. Today, if I want to say if my resident is a very good surgeon, I can't do that because I don't have a authentic outcomes in my in front of me, because I don't see many of a surgery done by my resident doctors now because the daycare surgery are there. It's only that complicated cases are brought to me, so this complication has occurred. So that is a challenge we are going to face. How to improve that area is also concern for future also. As you know, Sir William Osler, this is a writing which is very good. I think medicines are learned by the bedside and not in the classrooms or not in the the electronic media people have nowadays. You have to see the patient and you have to be with the patient, and that will make a very, very important aspect. Group discussion are just covered because this is going to be the one area which builds the confidence of a young person. If I was a resident doctor entering RP center, I didn't know how to present my case, how to present my symposium seminars, because I came from a background, despite doing MBBS in AIMS, I didn't have a courage to do those presentations. It was only the group which made me a confident person to present a case in front of my faculty, entire faculty group. So group discussion can be amongst yourself, your colleagues, with your seniors, and if you have a stepwise group, that is first year, second year, third year, then it really incorporates the knowledge from every area and makes the group much more vibrant, and it can be supervised by the senior person also. The benefit is always there because you can correct yourself, you can improvise yourself, sometimes you know the answer beforehand, and you know that the mistakes can be corrected before you have to face the actual situation also. Other important area is clinics. As I said in the beginning, now the concept of clinic, we are trying to change that. Gone are those days we can club retina cases or uvea cases or a cornea cases like clinics. They have become like a OPD services for us. Nowadays has come what Dr. Virender Sangwan talked about. You have to look into the futuristic point of view. If I have to have a clinic now, it will be a genetic clinic, it will be a AI-based clinic, or it will be some sort of a clinic which gives you newer areas of invention for us. So that is a time which is very important for all of us to look into. This is what I think younger generation has to put more time, to give a more chair time to your patient in a you can say intervention or pre-surgery or treatment for patient. That is a patient counseling. And that will only happen if yourself, you have the knowledge of what you are going to do for a patient. And that counseling has to be done in a very, very appropriate manner. And especially if you have a patient load, how to divide your time between these areas of investigation, examination, counseling, then actually doing surgery. And once you do a good counseling, you all know your post-op dissatisfied patient will be very, very less, and you can manage those patients appropriately. Today's generation, 100% satisfactory outcome is impossible, because people do have different ideas from a different ways to looking into your clinical assessment. People go through Google, people have different outcomes, people put information which may not be correct also. Therefore, your information to patient has to be absolutely impactful. So you have to be taking a good clinical history, document that, look beyond the eye. That is what we have been teaching to our students. Do a good examination, investigation, document them. Investigation, document them, so that you have the things before you do something which will change the documentation. If I have to do a removal of a small pterygium also, it has to be documented. Because I can say this was my pre-surgery and this is after surgery. So that is very, very important for a young people to learn. Document yourself, and always we talk about, procedural things, what you undertake, explain the patient appropriately so the patient doesn't get, disrupted during your actual procedure of hitting the laser. If patient, suppose we are doing a smile, if you're not taught your patient how to behave on the table when the actual interface is applied, you may have a suction loss. A well-educated person may be more difficult sometimes. It is the patient who wants to get everything from a doctor. He is a good patient for us. Always look for a good pre-op counseling, and most importantly, the written consent has to be absolutely perfect. That means appropriately signature by the patient, patient relative, and the witness has to be there also, apart from the doctor's signature. That is very important nowadays. Video maybe consent may not be required nowadays, which was not very appropriate also. This is, I think, three things are very important. One is, whatever time we give to the patient is not enough for them. From our side, we always think we are given more time. Patient thinks the doctor has given less time to them. That means our way of counseling the patient, doing the examination was not very effective. So you have to make sure your effectivity is very, very good in these patients. And always make sure you are precise, efficient, and make the patient feel comfortable also. This is what is also important for all of us. Because as I said, 100% people are never going to be satisfied by whatever you do. There will be some group of patients who will be dissatisfied. That is the area a good person can handle that. Because we need to know how to handle those dissatisfied patients. Not only patients, your own colleagues also, because sometimes the environment is disrupted by your colleagues also. How to talk to a patient who has been done by other person. It is always said, some patient comes to you with a complication, you see, my God, that should not be the way of reaction. So you should learn to respect your colleagues, your other people referring to patient to you. Always take care of that also. That shows how empathetically you are seeing that particular patient. This is one important one. If you see written here, you should observe your seniors, how they have handled the patient. Because most of the time, it's not your mentor going to tell you everything. You have to pick up the way he moves, the way he speaks. And if you are assisting one surgeon, he or she normally would not ask the question, sir, what you are doing. You say, sir, I've seen you doing like this, why you did like this? That is the actual student who picks up that point. I was seeing your hand was like this, why did you put your hand like this? So that is the actual student who is observing your teacher. Not by simply asking, sir, what will happen like this? So you have to observe the situation and go through that. So this is what I am talking about. The record maintenance has to be absolutely perfect in these cases. So once you have a good record maintenance, you can improve your artificial intelligence in future, which will have different areas, going to be a future for next multiple decades. And telemedicine is the answer to catch up with the world, to catch up with the remote areas, which really picked up very nicely in the COVID time also. So these are two areas young people should look into, all these areas. Briefly, on a surgical training point of view, these are various aspects of surgical training which we have been imparting to all of you to make sure you are a skilled surgeon with a hand which can take care of a patient, which can take care of a complication. If I have to certify my resident doctor, I write one line. He or she can take care of complications. So that is one area I should know carefully by going through the lecture, CMEs, go through wet labs, assist your seniors, then get a supervised surgery, and ultimately you should be able to do an independent surgery and take care of complications also. And it's very important to keep learning yourself, especially if you have videos, keep seeing your videos also. Join lectures, see the videos which are on YouTube, and if you have access to good wet lab, or you can get a training of various wet labs. Now, not only for cataract surgery, you can do a wet lab for all types of surgery now. We have developed every wet lab facility for right from the pterygium surgery, lid surgery, squint surgery, retina surgery, name, can all be done. And the video I saw from Dr. Virender Sangwan, where you could really see 3D picturization of entire eye, that was wonderful from LB Prasad. Then this is one area which we do regularly now. All resident doctors who are doing surgery are supervised, and their videos are assessed every Saturday with the preceptor, and we discuss. And no one is allowed to do a human surgery nowadays unless they get a competency in wet lab training. The certification is done by wet lab preceptor that he or she is now competent to do each step of surgery. Then they are given an extracapsular surgery, then shifting to phaco and other surgery also. Even for a SRs, we have done our residency training also. They have to go to the wet lab also. And in OT also, we have now devices. Most of the OTs, we have a headset devices where 3D visualization can be done. People can see and observe the same surgical step what surgeon is going through, and that's a very important innovation which has come in COVID time. And this will be a futuristic point of view for our learning beside the sitting, not through the ocular one person can see. If you have a 3D device, the multiple people can see the same surgery sitting in the side of surgeon and do everything also. This is what very, very important. Dr. Mahipal talked about this, making the team. And team is not only you, it is the entire environment in the OPD, in the clinics, in the indoor system, outdoor system, or in the surgical area also. Everybody is important. Even the sanitation staff is one of the most important person. A person who is dealing with the waste is also very important. It's not only the surgeon who is important in every area. Every member is important. So this is what I've talked about, 5 things. Allied staffs are very important. Sometimes they may be doing a mischief. Similarly, your nursing staff is the mainstay of your entire surgical area also. And make sure you give them the body language which people take as an acceptance. It's not only one person can really whistle the symphony. It takes the entire orchestra to do things livable and listenable, and that will only happen by the group of people voting. Be a good teacher. Like you saw, many people sitting here are teachers. And I all consider it's not only the teacher himself, it is the students who are going to make you teacher. Students are actually the teacher for us also. I learn everything from my students nowadays. And if you have a structured programs, much better. To have something learning, to have patient coming to your place, to have resident coming to that institution, you require to build an infrastructure. And that has to be equally well equipped with all modern instrumentation, all modern surgical fields, investigative field, interventional areas, so that the resident doctor, a young person, if not doing themselves, they should have access to see those areas and perform, assist, and that is how you will feel, okay, you are complete, and that will give you confidence also. This is a curriculum which is being now designed in a more perfect manner. I strongly feel we need to have one window, one single way of looking to the postgraduate curriculum across the country, and I think the NMC or earlier MCI should look into that area, not only for a clinical teaching, surgical aspect, and subsequently the fellowships which we require in these cases. Beyond increase your horizon, this is the 4 important things. Just research, publication, conferences, fellowship programs is very, very important. What you saw with the Dr. Virender, research made him the Virender Agarwal. That is so important. Sangwan is there. We know that it is the stem cells which is going to speak out. So that is what you should look into. Always do publication. Dr. Mahipal talked about they have 50 publications per year happening, and that is by you young people working in those areas. Publication will make you appear in the literature, and literature is going to remain for hundreds of years. Your good clinical work, your surgical work is not going to be there. It is your publication, the literature which is there, going to make you visible in invisible areas. That is very, very important for also realize and start, during residency itself. You have a case reports, you have just, letter to editor, give few, associate with a good group of people who are making research, try to learn the art of writing. I strongly agree with Dr. Mahipal. The writing the title is the most difficult part, and that is normally we do it towards the end. And sometimes title changes the entire perspective of a reading of a literature also. National, international conferences, we all do. Residents should do every time. If given opportunity, look for a fellowship abroad, if not in India, because we do have a good areas for fellowship also. But if you have a opportunity to go abroad, that will widen your thinking and you'll be better ophthalmologist for future. It's not only learning, reading, and doing things. You should do other things also. Sports, cultural items, literary items, paintings, do anything, but that will take away the stress we are going through. All young people today are undergoing a severe stress. More work, or they feel they are doing more work, because we also do a similar work, as Dr. Mahipal said, 12 hours is the average time of work nowadays. The resident in the RP center work more than that also. And around 10% of resident doctors undergo the anxiety, other things also. So this is one important area to look into. Develop one area of extracurricular activity, enjoy that also. And that will only happen by creating yourself in a different scenario also. Sportsmanship tells you that winning and losing is a game of game, and you accept those things also. It's not always you're going to win, and despite that you have to enjoy that area also. Just to summarize the few important points which I covered: acquire a good skills. That means be like a Virendra Sangwan, be a master of one, not a jack of all. Then good clinician knows the patient before he takes a chair. He's walking, I know that whatever disease patient is suffering from, what will be my findings and diagnosis. Not when the patient goes off from the chair. Good surgeon knows the eye before he puts his blades in the eye. Human being, yes. Good human being always, treats and heals the patient also. Both are important, Healing is more important than treating a patient. Be a good team player. A good teacher. That is, learning alone is not enough. Pass it on. Pass it on to other person, because they are going to take your, the learning or teaching genetics to your generation and generation. You just heard Professor S.K. Tiwari being our teacher. We are talking about him because he was our teacher, and we learned so many things from him, and that is true for all our teachers. And it's important, you should always aim to be a mentor yourself and create a mentor for futures. If I can create all of you as a mentor, the learning will spread more widely, and that will create a scenario which will be good for our country. And most importantly, always remember, our patients are our best teachers, because if patients are not there, we're going to learn anything. Today's student is tomorrow's teacher. This is, I think, the last word which is so important. And be a leader, not just a follower, because that is very important. You have to be a leader, and people will keep following you. Thank you for listening to my talk, and hope that you'll enjoy and grow to a bigger and bigger tree like a banyan tree.
Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful lecture. Great wisdom of pearls from a great teacher. We move on to our third award. The iFocus Lifetime Achiever Award has always been a celebration of life, which has been impactful and which has created transformational service to the science and society. And today we are fortunate to have Dr. R.V. Ramani receiving a Lifetime Achiever Award. Let's have introduction of Dr. Ramani.
India, where 12 million people are totally blind and 45 million people are visually handicapped. 80% of the blindness in India is curable with quality eye care. Is there anybody out there to help? Is there anybody out there to empathize? Yes, there is somebody working to dispel this darkness. July 24th, 1947. And it was yet another day for the world. Born to Dr. A. Ramanathan and Lakshmi Ramanathan, Dr. R.V. Ramani is a proud Coimbaturian. He had his schooling at Municipal Boys High School, R.S. Puram, Coimbatore. His first inspiration was his dear father. The way his father pursued the noble profession of medicine left a deep impression in the mind of Dr. Ramani, who chose medicine as his future. It was Kasturba Medical College, Manipal, the premier medical school where he completed medicine in the year 1971 and was adjudged as the best outgoing student. While still pursuing his medical course, he lost his dear father. He had to come back to Coimbatore soon after his medical education to continue with his father's practice. His wife, Dr. Radha, joined hands with him to establish Dr. Ramanathan Memorial Clinic, and soon they became a highly successful doctor couple of the city. Both Dr. Ramani and Dr. Radha had an urge to do something more, something beyond their own private practice. Dr. Ramani's passion to serve the needy is ably supported right from day one by his wife, Dr. Radha. It was a life-changing, divine call. With the guidance and blessings of the Shankaracharyas of Kanchi, Dr. Ramani and Dr. Radha, ably supported by 10 young doctor friends and 10 medical representatives, initiated a primary health care activity. Sri Kanchi Kamakoti Medical Center took birth on 21st May 1977 as a 2-room center at Kamakshi Amman Temple, R.S. Puram, Coimbatore. Walking along with him, hand in hand as his better half, she has played a major role in building this movement. His family also stands by him and his conviction. Dr. Ramani strongly believes in the concept of Oor Koodi Theriyuthal, the entire community coming together to pull the chariot of service. 75 leading medical consultants joined the team to provide voluntary service, and the industrial groups of Coimbatore came forward to set up similar medical centers. Within the next 3 years, 9 such medical centers were established around the city, providing primary health care to over 1,000 patients every day. In the year 1981, His Holiness Pujya Sri Jayendra Saraswati Swamigal blessed Dr. Ramani to establish Sri Kanchi Kamakoti Medical Trust as the umbrella organization for all healthcare initiatives. It was Dr. S. Balasubramanian who impressed on Dr. Ramani to take up eye care as the chosen field of activity because of the huge need for eye care in a developing country like ours. Dr. Ramani's close friend and neighbor Sri N. Nataraj and family graciously donated over 5 acres of land on Sati Road in the outskirts of Coimbatore, which set the basis for this edifice of service, Shankara Eye Care. Dr. Ramani was privileged and honored to have some of the finest human beings joining hands with him wholeheartedly. Each and every community and family in Coimbatore have actively participated in building this temple of service. Dr. Ramani fondly remembers with gratitude their invaluable support. The success of Shankara Eye Hospital, Coimbatore, made Dr. Ramani and his team realize the importance of reaching out to the rest of the country. Impressed and inspired by Shankara Eye Hospital's track record, like-minded friends established Shankara Eye Foundation in USA with the objective of supporting the community eye care activities in India. Vande Mataram Bharat Vision was launched during the Silver Jubilee year of Shankara. Today, there are 13 Shankara Eye Hospitals across the country. Coimbatore and Krishnangoil in Tamil Nadu, Guntur in Andhra Pradesh, Bangalore and Shimoga in Karnataka, Anand in Gujarat, Ludhiana in Punjab, Kanpur in UP, and Jaipur in Rajasthan, Indore in Madhya Pradesh, Panvel Mumbai in Maharashtra, and Hyderabad in Telangana. He is proud of his team Shankara, which is totally dedicated and committed to the cause of eradicating blindness. The strong second line, which Dr. Ramani has consciously developed, along with process and systems in place, is not only ensuring perpetuity, but also taking the movement to the next level. Under Dr. Ramani's leadership, vision, and farsightedness, Shankara's activities have scaled up across India. Pursuit of excellence is an ongoing phenomenon. For Dr. Ramani, it is an obsession, a magnificent obsession. His dream, his passion, his vision is not only lighting millions of lives, but he also stands as a role model for the generation next. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting a proud doctor, a strong motivator and a passionate team builder, a humble humanitarian, a patriotic Indian and an honored civilian, and above all, a fine human being, Dr. Ramanathan Venkataramani.
May I request Dr. Mahipal to felicitate Dr. Ramani? Now Dr. Mahipal will read the citation.
Good afternoon, and this Lifetime Achievement Award goes to none other than Dr. Ramanathan Ramani for envisioning and creating a successful model of affordable, replicable, high-quality, volume-intensive, community-based eye care network across India, and for being a role model through his visionary leadership. Padma Shri Dr. Ramani, or RVR as he is popularly known, is the founder and managing trustee of Shankara Eye Foundation, one of the leading eye care networks in India. In 1977, inspired by Shankaracharya of Kanchi, RVR set up a primary healthcare center for the needy in Coimbatore. His assiduous efforts in evolving a community-oriented model of healthcare culminated in the formation of Shri Kanchi Kamakoti Medical Trust in 1982 and Shankara Eye Foundation in 1985. This 38-year-old long journey of RVR and SCF is paved with compassionate care and sincere efforts at improving the quality and accessibility of eye care for the masses and freedom from avoidable and treatable blindness. Inspirationally synced to the Mahatma Gandhi's dictum, India lives in the villages, and deeply embedded with the doctrine of eternal goodness, SCF now has a broad national footprint, having established 13 super specialty centers across 9 states in India. The essence of RVR saga embodies compassionate care, high quality service, uncompromised outcome, emphasis on manpower and technologically driven infrastructure development, astute economics and adherence to founding principles with a clear sight on the goals and ears to the ground. Dream big, Dr. Ramani did and worked hard to realize it. The life and times of Dr. Ramani are a constant source of inspiration to anyone who dares to dream big and not sway away from the chosen path, even under very challenging circumstances. This honor of Lifetime Achievement Award is being bestowed upon Dr. Ramani on 3rd March 2023 at iFocus, the National Postgraduate Education Program at New Delhi, India.
May I invite Dr. Ramani for his lectures?
Dr. Sachdev, Dr. Hanover, Dr. Gandhi, the doyens of ophthalmology on the dais, and the young professionals over here. I should first congratulate the Center for Sight for organizing such a national event. I even have a suggestion to Dr. Sachdev to name it as a iFest. It is a festival. It's a national festival, what you have been organizing year after year after year with the sole purpose of inculcating not only the science of ophthalmology, but also a lot of values in the next generation to come in. I am personally thankful for choosing me for this prestigious award. On behalf of Team Shankara, I thank every one of you. Pursuit of excellence is there in every one of us. All of us do realize that excellence is not a goal, it is a pursuit. We keep on improving ourselves. The Latin word excelsis, it means beyond the high. You are sitting in this hall, there is a roof. But if you go to the next floor, there is yet another floor there and yet another roof over there. So beyond the high, whatever we are doing now, can we do something more, something beyond? Whatever may be our line of activity, our specialization, or for that matter, even our profession. In our life, we go through a lot of phases, right from our childhood, our period of education, the profession, and then the choice, the field of activity, and so on. I would like to recollect what Swami Vivekananda said. He said, take up one idea, dream of it, think of it. Let every part of your body, your bones, your muscles, your nerves, reverberate only with that idea and leave all other alone. And that is the way to succeed. This dream is important to everyone, especially the younger generation over here. Dream high. Dr. Kalam was quoted by almost all the speakers. He said, a dream which is not coming when we are asleep, but a dream which does not allow us to sleep. Steve Jobs, when he started his company, he never said that he is going to produce cell phones or computers. He said, I would like to put a ding in the universe. I want to put a ding in the universe. That is exactly what he stated. And he did do that. What you see in that Apple sign, the ding, he has really made it a world pervading all over. And that is the kind of a dream. Dreaming big. Small dreams is a crime, that Dr. Kalam says. Passion. I would like to, because of the young professionals here, touch upon few things which always appeal to me. This will be totally different from the highly technical and scientific talks which you heard earlier from the allied speakers. Passion. Passion is something which, passion and profession, when it joins together, then sky is the limit. And you need to put in hard work. Without hard work, nothing happens. Sachin Tendulkar, the little master, all of us know what he had achieved in his life. I believe after he announced his retirement, the last match which he played in Mumbai, it was just a kind of a routine local matches between two different clubs in Mumbai, suburban Mumbai. None of those recognized tournaments. By then he had proved himself to the world. But I believe a couple of days before that, he started practicing 4 hours a day for that match. That is hard work, that is passion. If every one of us in our own profession, we see that we will be putting in hard work and be passionate about it, then definitely there is much more to reach. Good communicators. In our profession, the profession of healing, the noble profession, we have to be good communicators. We've all heard about the noble profession, how it was treated. The profession was treated by the public. I still remember, as a school student, whenever I used to go with my father, who was one of the earliest doctors of the city of Coimbatore, the kind of respect they gave to this profession was it was something unimaginable. And as a student, I said, if at all, I'll become a doctor. But now we know what is happening. There is a lot of challenges coming in. Lot of issues, medical legal issues coming up. Why? Because the communication sometimes is not effective communication between the service provider and the receiver. If it is not there, that can lead into a lot of confusions and catastrophes. I'll just try to cite you an example. Most of the diseases are psychosomatic. Most of the diseases. Say, for example, a patient comes to me and says, I have a pain in the throat. I just tell him, please sit down. I just take a torch and look at his throat, and there is an infected tonsils. I immediately light an antibiotic, antihistamine, anti-inflammatory, and a B complex, and tell him, go and take it. This guy is walking out thoroughly dissatisfied. I said, what the doctor is there? He just asked me to open my mouth and scribbled something and gave me. And because of that, he has not accepted me as a good doctor. Because of that, with this medicine, he'll be sick for the next 1 week. Same patient, same complaint. I asked him, sit down. I just write down. I just call him by his name by the time he walks in, because I'm able to see in the case sheet what his name is. Name is something that is very close to every single patient. The moment you call him in his name or her name, they feel there is a kind of an immediate rapport between the doctor and the patient. I ask him, please sit down, smile at him. Most of the time, we have forgotten how to smile at people. Make him or her sit down, and then I ask this person the same question. I ask him, how far did you have, how long did you have your sore throat, did you have fever, did you have cough, did you have vomiting? Then I enter everything. Then I start examining him. Not only with a torch, I use the tongue depressor, I look at the nostrils, I check his ears, and I also make sure the lower respiratory tract infection is not there. Then I write the same antibiotic, antihistamine, anti-inflammatory, and B complex, and tell him, please take it, and I just pat him on the shoulder. He's walking out so satisfied. He says, what a great doctor he is. I also tell him, do not expose yourself to cold, do some saline gargling, no air conditioners for the next couple of days. He walks out thinking, what a nice and great doctor he is. He asked for my disease. He examined me thoroughly. He gave me the diagnosis. He also told me the do's and don'ts. Tell me, within the next 2 to 3 days, the same medicine, he'll be perfectly all right. And I become a lucky doctor. Some of the clinics we go and see, there'll be hardly any patient. Other clinic, there are about hundreds of patients waiting. Why this difference? Both of them study the same medicine. This doctor has mastered the art of communication. So all of you, the young doctors here, please be good communicators. Communicate well to the patients and to the attenders. Build a team. Without a team, nothing happens. Teamwork need not necessarily mean unanimity of ideas, but it necessarily means unanimity of purpose. So you have to build a team around you. Whatever work is it. In fact, it was quoted by an earlier talk. Even when you get into a theater, to perform an effective surgery, so many people have to work for it. The theater has to be cleaned by someone properly. Someone has to clean the instruments properly, autoclave it properly. Someone has to help as an unsterile sister, and someone has to help as a sterile staff. If all these people do their job perfectly, then alone our surgery will become perfect. It is a teamwork. So we need to realize that we have to build a team with a unanimity of purpose and also see that they are all cultivated in the long run. There is also a lot of confusion between work and stress. They are totally two different things. Sometimes we say, "Arey, I'm so tired, I'm stressed out, so much of work." Never. When you do a work which you love so much, you work for 15 hours, you'll never feel stressed. The same thing, 15 minutes of a work which you do not like, you will get stressed. It is the way we love the work, be passionate about it, there is no stress at all. No one has died of hard work, but people have died of stress. Work and stress are totally two different things, not to be confused at all. Compassion. Need to be compassionate to the patients. There is no second question on that. At the other end of the operating microscope, we should always remember there is someone who is somebody's father, somebody's mother, somebody's husband, wife, son or daughter. And only with that compassion, we'll be able to deliver high quality eye care. Ethical values. No substitute for ethical values. Nothing beyond it. Just not even an iota on the other side. Only high ethical values will help us to grow. We are all familiar with the popular game, the snake and ladder. We call it as Paramapadam. We have to be so choosy not to catch the snakes, but only the ladder. So important in life to be highly ethical, no shortcuts. Anyone who has tried shortcuts, you can even go through the history. It only there will be a temporary gain. They cannot sustain over a period. No shortcuts, only ethical values. Work-life balance, very important. As you become highly successful professionals, sometimes you hardly find time for your family. Life is, of course, your profession is so important. It is a rubber ball. You can always gain your professional excellence, keep on improving. But all other things, your health, your family, your friends, your society, they're all like a glass ball. You should never drop it. So the work-life balance is something which has to be given a lot of importance. Friends, pursuit of excellence should be the mantra for every one of us. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, he was heading the Hindustan Levers. And later he joined the Taj Group. In early 90s, I believe in London, in Europe for that matter, people never knew about the Indian restaurants. They all knew about the Japanese restaurants, they knew about the Chinese restaurants, but nobody knew about the Indian restaurant. And in 1992, Taj Hotel in London, started a restaurant and named it as Taj Koilon. Some of you from Kerala might know Koilon is a city in Kerala. And once they started this Taj Koilon, within the next 6 months, it became literally a runaway hit. People started queuing at 4 o'clock in the evening in front of Taj Koilon. They forgot about the Japanese restaurant and the Chinese restaurants. So much of demand. So my friend, Mr. Gopal, he was so curious to know what's happening over there. He went to London. He watched the whole magic happening there. And then he called the chef, the head chef, one Mr. Sriram Ailur. He called him, "Ailur, tell me, how did you make this magic? So much never happened in the history in Europe about the Indian restaurants, and you did make it happen. How did you do it?" I believe Sriram Ailur told him, "Sir, I work for 10 months. I don't take leave. At the end of 10 months, I get 2 months leave. I get back home. I go and stay with my family for 2 weeks, and the balance 6 weeks, I go to the coastal Kerala. I go to the small little fishermen villages. I stay over there, live in their huts, and every evening when the women folks start the cooking process, I go to their kitchen and start watching it. I take down notes. I continue this for the rest of the weeks, and by the time I completed my 6 weeks trip in all those fishermen villages, I get about 15 to 20 exotic recipes which nobody ever knew about. That is excellence. A guy who has proved himself to be a head chef in a top restaurant, in a top hotel in London, feels that he has to educate himself further and further. Pursue excellence. This is the pursuit of excellence, my dear friends. Whatever we do, we have to pursue excellence. One of my previous speakers also mentioned about keeping a very quiet mind is so important. I don't know how many of you have actually seen in the Indigo, in some of the flights, when you enter the cockpit door is there, there used to be a nice board over there. It says, you are entering a critical area. Leave all your worries behind. Do not carry it with you. So similarly, when we get into the theater or for that matter or workplace, leave all our worries are there everywhere. Everyone will have some small, big worries, whatever it is. Leave it behind so that we can perform much better. Another word I would like to share with you is worrying about competition. Please never think, always think, oh, so-and-so is coming here, this institution is coming here. Why not? There is so much of demand. There should be healthy competition. Never get worried. There is a very, very popular saying that every single grain of rice, God has written on that, into which mouth this has to go in. So never get worried about the competition. In fact, competitions are good. It will bring in the best in every one of us. Friends, research and publications. It is the kind of a spice, adding spice to our work. Otherwise, work becomes monotonous. So research and publications, adding spice to our own work. So our job is like, what we do is like a game of tennis. We serve and we get a return. And it all starts with love all. These are the days of taking selfies. We are all proud of taking our selfies. Our work is our selfie. It should be so good. I should say, look, I'm autographing my work. Take it. This is my selfie. I'm autographing it. So make your works. You feel so proud of what you did. You excelled in your area of specializations. And then you feel, okay, I'm willing to autograph and give my selfie photograph. That should be the attitude of the next generation coming forward. In conclusion, when we choose a need-based cause at organizations like ours, they're all stalwarts sitting here. When we choose a need-based cause, when we have clear goals ahead, what am I going to do? When we put in process and systems in place, develop a strong and committed team, make human resource development. We in Shankara, we felt it is a critical element these days and started our Shankara Academia vision to train the entire gamut of human resource, right from doctor to the administrator. So make human resource development as an ongoing phenomenon. Someone joins us, those days, I don't know, some of you might remember, we used to call, I have a manpower. Then we said, no, not manpower. Let us call them as human resource. At some stage we said, no, human resource development. Now we are talking about human asset and human capital. So how do we convert a manpower to a human capital? That is where success lies. So when we are there having human resource development constantly in place, working in place, and in this entire society starts appreciating a transparent and genuine work, and above all, if there is a divine grace, dear friends, success will be there for all institutions. I would like to conclude with a note on humor. With all these qualities which have been shared by so many people, and I'm sure you're going to hear on this kind of a good advice time and again, one very important quality the young people should also get is patience. Never be impatient. Patience is a very important quality which you have to imbibe. You have to be so patient, especially when you treat your patients. On a humorous note, the other day a friend of mine, he had a small little cut injury. It was bleeding. The finger was bleeding. This guy wanted to have a dressing. He looked around. There was a clinic with a lot of patients sitting there. This guy walked in. And the moment he went in, a nurse came, and pushed him onto the bench. He showed his finger. The lady is so busy, she walked away and he was just sitting there. Within a couple of minutes, the second nurse came and removed his shirt and banian. He protested, showing his finger. No, she just removed his shirt and banian. Next couple of minutes, a third nurse came and kept a thermometer in his mouth. This fellow started fuming. He looked around. There were 40 guys like him, sitting with their shirt and banian out and a thermometer in the mouth. Then the fourth nurse came, started with the first person, very religiously removed the thermometer, recorded the temperature, came up to him and removed the thermometer. This fellow could not hold anymore. He was so impatient. He shouted at the fellow sitting next to him, "What the hell is this? Is it a mental asylum? I came here for a cut injury. This is what all these girls did for me. I'm going to report to the chief doctor." That person said, "Be patient. Look at me. I'm the postman for this region for the past 25 years. Every day I will come here. They will remove my shirt and banian, keep a thermometer also. At the end, I will give my post and go away." Friends, never be impatient for success. Patience is very, very important if you have to reach greater heights in life. I conclude with the words of Rabindranath Tagore. Right from our childhood days, we were inspired by the words of Tagore in Gitanjali, those golden birds. Where the head is held high, where the mind is without fear, where the knowledge is free, where the words come from the depth of truth, where the world is not broken down by narrow domestic walls. Into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. I invite Dr. Honavar now. We have a host of awards which are still pending. So Dr. Honavar will take over.
Can I have my slides? We have some awards to give, as is customary. We start with fellowship certificates. Center for Sight conducts several subspecialty fellowships, one of which is ophthalmic plastics and ocular oncology at CFS Hyderabad. And this is an international fellowship with rotation at Wills Eye Institute or New York Eye Cancer Center. We have 4 fellows who are graduating. They have already finished their fellowship, but because of COVID, they could not be given certificates formally, so they are here. Can I have the slides, please? Yeah. The first one is Gaurav Garg. He is from Api Center, Delhi, who did his fellowship at Center for Sight and did a rotation at New York Eye Cancer Center. I request Dr. Ramani and Dr. Mahipal Sachdev to give the fellowship certificate, and Virendra Sangwan and Dr. Tityal sir to kindly accompany if possible. Next would be Mritika Sen, who did her international rotation at Wills Eye Institute, Philadelphia. Ankita Aishwarya. Ankita has been an iFocus attendee for 3 years, continuous years. This is her 4th iFocus, but now as a fellow. Next is Harika Regani from Vijayawada, graduate of API Center. Move on to the postgraduate awards now. Over the last 5 days, we have conducted several competitions. Couple of competitions are due today, but whoever has already won, we are giving away the awards now. Postgraduate grand rounds competition, which entailed presentation of cases. First prize goes to Dr. Ashwita Alva. Second prize, Sushmita Samak from Bangalore. Third prize has been shared by 2 residents, Charu Mago and Anushri Lingaya. Postgraduate lecture competition, Teachers of Tomorrow. First prize again goes to Ashwita Alva. Second prize to Charu Mago and third prize to Anushri Lingaya. Yes, same team. Team changes for the PG Open Quiz competition. First prize to Aishwarya K. Prizes will come to you later. These are the trophies. Second prize, Shrishti Khullar. Third prize, Saurabh Haral. Boy, finally, yeah. Rahul gets the special prize. Is Rahul here? Rahul topped the theory round, so he gets the special prize. You have the Grand Viva competition next. Agrima Bhatia, first prize. Aishwarya K, second prize. Third prize to Nishish Satish. To acknowledge people behind the show, you have heard you have seen iFocus evolving over the last 5 to 6 days, and gratitude is expressed with flowers to Rolika Bansal, who was a program coordinator. Devendra Negi. Okay. Murli Akala. Thank you so much. We welcome you for a group photograph followed by lunch. Thank you so much.
So the group photograph is arranged exactly where your lunch is arranged. All right. This is a very memorable photograph, so please don't miss it. Okay. Please, get downstairs near that area, and we'll see you there as soon as possible, followed by lunch.